Jorge from Los Angeles. What are your thoughts on Cesaro winning the Intercontinental title at Hell in a Cell and unifying the U.S. title at Survivor Series, then losing it at TLC because of Paul Heyman? This would set up the angle and match with Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. Well, that's the match I pitched last week. I pitched an idea to do Cesaro and Lesnar for the title on the undercard at the Royal Rumble. For people who think it's a weaker match because why is Cesaro getting a world title shot? The idea is that they would start now building him up for that championship match. You've got the past history with Heyman they can play off of. And because the Royal Rumble pay-per-view is sold on the Rumble match itself, you can afford to do a slightly weaker title match on the undercard. So to me, it makes total sense. And the hope coming out of it is that even in defeat, Cesaro will look strong. He'll be over as a babyface. And you'll have, a number 2 or 3 babyface solidly under John Cena and Dean Ambrose. And hopefully by then you get back Bryan, you get back Roman Reigns, and maybe come January they'll have a nice top 5 solid babyface roster. So that was my idea. I pitched it last week. So I want to talk a little bit about this. I got Jorge's email, and I started going over things in my head. And I said, I want to use this on the show because I want to really lay things out here. A lot of times we talk in general terms about, well, what WWE is doing sucks. They don't know what they're doing. They should push this guy or that guy. But, not all the time do I take time to really lay out the plan, to lay out the blueprint of how I would do it. And I thought Jorge's idea of having Cesaro, who is in a feud now for the Intercontinental title with Dolph Ziggler, having him win the title, maybe unify the belt, I thought that was an interesting little twist to the whole thing. So I wanted to take things a step further. Even if there's an interaction with Paul Heyman before the pay-per-view to set that up, to set that Rumble match up, I don't see why Paul Heyman would care to cost Cesaro the Intercontinental title. That's the flaw, I think, in Jorge's plan here. Why? It doesn't make sense that Heyman would even give a shit. Here's what I would do. I'm going to take things one step further. Here's what I would do. I want to see Cesaro and Lesnar for the title at the Rumble. That's been established. How about this? How about Cesaro wins the Intercontinental title from Dolph Ziggler at Hell in a Cell. Then he meets Sheamus in a unification match at Survivor Series. We can get back to that feud. I think that could be freaking amazing if they give them time to go out there and have a match like the one they had at Night of Champions. So to go back briefly to the Sheamus-Cesaro feud, it might feel like, they're going back to that again, but I wouldn't mind that at all. I think we can get one more great match out of it. Those two guys work well together. They're stiff. They beat the shit out of each other. And you have one guy with the U.S. title. You have one guy with the Intercontinental title. Now you have a match that actually has some meaning. You have a match now that has some purpose. The winner of this match will unify the belts and will be the unified Intercontinental champion. So now Cesaro wins. He's the unified champion. And then instead of Heyman costing him the title for no apparent reason, maybe have Paul Heyman try to get back with Cesaro again. Now that he's got gold, he seems to be on a roll. The dude is doing well for himself. Heyman's a leech. He wants to jump back on the Cesaro bandwagon. Heyman calls himself an advocate, right? He's like an agent. That's exactly what he is. He's a leech. He wants to latch back onto Cesaro. Cesaro very politely says, Paul, I'll always be a Paul Heyman guy, but I don't need you right now. I'm doing real well on my own. And this doesn't sit well with Paul Heyman. It actually makes Heyman look bad because here's a guy he had under his tutelage who's now doing better without him. Kind of kills Heyman's credibility. Makes Paul look bad. So then, if you do it that way, at least, you've got a valid reason to have Heyman cost him the title if you want to do that at TLC. But here's another way you could go with it. And this would serve to also make the Intercontinental title mean something. God forbid they should do that. I know I'm not making any sense when I talk like this. What's wrong with me? How dare I even suggest such a thing? Why not let him unify it? You could even do the same deal with him turning down Heyman's advances like I just talked about. But instead of Heyman costing him the title, they hype a major announcement on an episode of Raw from Cesaro, who comes out and challenges Lesnar to a match for the WWE Championship. Cesaro says, I've already unified 2 titles, why not one more? And he sees it more of as like a friendly challenge, nothing against Paul. But Heyman, of course, feels betrayed. And that's how you turn Cesaro babyface. That's the catalyst to flipping him to the babyface side. And now you've got a champion versus champion match for Brock's belt at the Royal Rumble. Not for the Intercontinental title, obviously. But just having the Intercontinental Champion in there being competitive with Brock Lesnar, even when he loses, he's going to come out of it looking like a bigger star than he was going in. And you can get away with it on the Rumble pay-per-view because, again, it's not about the title match. It's about the Rumble match. You don't need to have the strongest championship match on that show. You can get away with having what people may perceive to be a weaker title match. Now, I'm not one of those people. I would love to see Cesaro Brock on any show. To me, it's not a weak title match at all. I'm sick to death of seeing the same people in the ring over and over again. Brock and Cesaro is a fresh match. I think it would be a great match. I heartily endorse it for any pay-per-view. But some people may not feel the same way. Some people may say, oh, this guy's a jobber. I don't know what people see in him, or he's been booked like a loser. That's not a real title match worthy of a pay-per-view. I disagree, but again, some people may feel that way. I mean, I don't know about you. I am sick to death of John Cena and Brock Lesnar at this point. After Brock killed him at SummerSlam, you knew he couldn't go any higher than that. The only other place for it to go is Cena getting his win back, and I have no interest whatsoever in seeing that. There's already some rumors that maybe the Rumble match will be Cena-Brock 3. Why? Why? Why do we need to see that match again? You had a chance to do it at Hell in a Cell. That would have been the time to do it. You didn't do it. So that ship has sailed as far as I'm concerned. Get somebody new in there with Brock and get him primed for Mania. Whether it's Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose or Daniel Bryan, I'd be fine with any of those three in the Mania main event with Brock. I'd prefer Ambrose or Bryan, but again, that's just me. But there you go. That's two different ways you could go with the Cesaro-Lesnar program heading into the Royal Rumble. I came up with that in 5 minutes. Not even. You think WWE is putting that much thought into this?